and I hope you're excited. But honestly, this is one of my commitments, one of the ways I want to give back. And I decided recently that I'm taking ownership for my health, but also for taking ownership of how I can help other people do the same. And if you want to join me, this is just one way I'll be doing on Mondays. And today, I want to talk about the cheat codes, the 5 things we all must know to extend our healthy lifespan. So in this episode, I'm going to cover the cheat codes that slow down aging, extend your health span. And my wife always tells me to ask questions at the beginning of these things to get interaction. So probably not the best day to be doing this. One of those days when life's been crazy. I lost 2 of my water bottles. So it's just one of those days like soup sandwich. I can't keep my head squared on straight, but that was probably because of the crazy weekend we had for Mother's Day, which was amazing. And got to spend the weekend with my wife, surprising her. And we did that alive just to encourage those of you that have a significant other, maybe to do something special, plan something special, do a surprise. It does not have to be elaborate, but just show them that you care, show them that you love them. And one of the ways I want to show you that I love you is just to share some of the information I learned. I'm fascinated, obsessed with learning. This is some of the books and content that I'm constantly learning about. Today, I listened to an hour and a half of a PhD, Charles Poliquin, that many people have heard of. But today's episode, just real quick, cliff notes. We're going to talk about what the new currency of aging is, according to Peter Diamandis. He's the creator of the X Prize, one of the biggest thought leaders in health, aging, medicine on the planet. So we're going to dive into that. And this can be fast and furious, not going to be real long. 2, I'm going to tell you how to change just 2% of your week. Everybody thinks they don't have time for things that are important. But I'm going to show you how just changing 2% of your week can not only change the rest of your week, the 98%, but it can also dramatically change your life. So that's number 2. Number 3, we're going to talk about what is the best anabolic agent. And that's according to what I learned from Charles Poliquin today from an interview he did back in 2017. So this information isn't dated. It's one of those things that is evergreen. So we're going to cover that. Number 4, if you're on a plant-based diet or you watch the movie Game Changers, I'm going to tell you what's the one ingredient you can add to a plant-based diet that will be a game changer for your health span. And I'll explain what I mean by that. And number 5, I'm going to tell you what is the only non-essential macronutrient. So there's 3 macronutrients: protein, fats, and carbohydrates. So I want you to answer before I get there. What is, you think of those 3, there's one that's not essential, meaning you could live your entire life and survive. You may be upset, pissed off, miserable, but you could survive for your entire life with one of those 3 macronutrients. So take a guess what it is. Put it in the chat. Be bold. Be courageous if you're watching now or the replay. So play along with me. And if you get some value out of this, please share it with somebody you care about. Share it with somebody you love. Tag them, bag them, do whatever you think. I'm multicasting this across LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and soon to Instagram and other channels. But we have to start somewhere. And trust me, this is the last thing I want to do. I just wasn't feeling confident. But those of you that want to be successful in life, we have to face those demons inside of us. And like Nike, just do it. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm hopefully going to bring some value to you. And let's start with number 1. So you can play along as we go forward. If you're tuning in live, put live in the chat. If you're watching the replay, put replay, just so I can get an idea of when and how people are watching. I'm going to do these at random times on Mondays, just based on my schedule. So here we go. The cheat codes, 5 things we all must need to know right now So number one, what is the new currency of aging? So this is one of my favorite quotes, and it ties into what I said in the Magic Pill. So if you don't know me, I'm the author of the Magic Pill. This was published in 2011, and I feel pretty validated and vindicated because things I said in this book are now coming out in studies, recent studies, and the most two recent books, successful books, Outlived by Peter Attia and Forever Strong by Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, both intelligent medical doctors with massive influence, massive practice. In both of their books, they also validated point number one, the new currency of aging, if you haven't heard, and this is the quote from Peter Diamandis, the creator of the X Prize, one of the smartest dudes on the planet in anti-aging, healthspan, all those things. The new currency of aging is strength. So strength is the new currency of aging. And what is strength? That is the ability to move masses using the force of our muscles. So the recent studies have demonstrated and proven beyond a shadow of a doubt 10 times more important than what your blood pressure is, what your triglycerides are, what your cholesterol is what is your strength? What is your muscle mass? And what they're finding is the strongest people are the longest lived people, because strength not only affects your ability to move things, but it affects your bone density. Muscle strength is directly correlated with bone mineral density. So you don't get those bone fractures, which quite frankly are the biggest killer of people over 65. If you break a hip or a femur and you're over the age of 65, 35% likelihood you're going to die within a year. And then another 30% die within 3 years. So 65% of people over 65, when you break a hip or a femur, it's a death sentence. So strength is going to decrease the likelihood of that happening in the first place. And that's why I've been championing strong is young. And that's why I put it at the end of my post. I'm really trying to champion strength. And yes, it's an investment. Yes, if you don't understand it. What's up, Holly? What's up, Benjamin? Thank you for the comment. We're talking about the 5 cheat codes, particularly to improve, extend, optimize health span. So number one, if you just tuning in, strength is the new currency of aging. That's like I said, one of my favorite quotes from Peter Diamandis, much smarter dude than me, and creator of the X Prize and lots of other things. So that's number one. So number two, I want to talk about what you can do with 2% of your time that can change not only the rest of your week. So 2% of your week doing this one thing can change the rest of your week, the 98%, but more importantly, can change your entire life. And what is that? And that is exercise, particularly strength training. So Charles Poliquin said for 80% of the population, unless you're an Olympic athlete or you're a professional athlete or a collegiate athlete, for the rest of us that are just trying to optimize our health, live a quality, healthy life, in just 4 hours per week, you can get the job done. 4 hours. That's only 2% of our available time. There's 168 hours per week. 4 hours is only 2%. So if you believe and are convinced in your own mind that you don't have the time or you can't make the time, I would just call you out and say you're fooling yourself. And I like to do that with the crappy things I have to do in business, the things I dread. And, but I know it's critical. Payroll is critical. Otherwise, I don't have employees. And if I don't have employees, I don't have a business. So strength training is kind of the same thing. And shout out to Benjamin. Happy birthday. His birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday. Strong is young. So hopefully you're strength training and turning back the clock. I'm 55, going to be 56 in July. And I just hopefully am living proof of what I'm talking about. I can still lift and carry my kids who are 10 and 13 boys to bed when they fall asleep on the couch, when they fall asleep on our bed. I can still pick them up and carry them to bed. So that is because I spend literally 4 hours a week. I follow that rule with strength training. So that is key. So of that 4 hours, it just can't be going through the motions. The key factors are intensity. You have to use that time in a quality way. So for most of you, and 70% plus in a survey of people getting health and training advice are getting it from their friends who don't know what they're doing. So I would trust or check the credibility of your resource and hire an expert or follow an expert and get some credible advice. But intensity is the key. If you're doing more than 4 hours, as Charles Poliquin said, and he's the strength sensei, the strength guru, 105 published peer-reviewed articles, trained more Olympic athletes than any other strength and nutrition coach on the planet. But if you said if you're working out more than an hour per session, you're just making friends. You have to work out with intention. And then another factor is variety. You have to have variation in your workouts. You have to have fancy term periodization or progression. So, but for most of you, if you're not doing anything, something is better than nothing. So you're going to get in the first 6 to 12 months great response from anything you're doing. But I would just encourage you can get a lot further if you're doing the right things, using those hours effectively and getting the most out of your training. And Benjamin, if you are a personal trainer, you're hopefully preaching to the choir here. But if you're trusting the advice of some guru that might be 17, 20, 21 years old on Instagram and just happens to have abs, I would challenge you to maybe question the source. Like Forrest Gump said in his movie, stupid is as stupid does. And that means our actions are really what determine our intelligence, not what we know. I always say applied knowledge is power, not knowledge is power. So that's just number 2, using 4 hours a week, 2% of your week to do something that's going to change your life. So that is number 2. Number 3, and I want you to answer if you're watching this now or live. Like I said, play along because it's going to make it stick in your subconscious mind. If you're right, it's really going to stick. If you're wrong, it's still going to stick because you're going to realize, oh, shit, I was wrong. That's the answer. So this is a direct quote from Charles Poliquin. And this is, like I said, an interview I watched today. And with Mike Metzer, they has a high-intensity health show and podcast. And now he's nicknamed Metabolic Mike. But in his interview, he was asked he said, what is the best anabolic agent? And it is, anyone? Sleep. And I always said and have said for a long time, in the gym, you got to work hard, but we need to rest harder. It's rest and recovery when the magic happens. So you can train your ass off, do everything right in the gym, which, like I said, 70% of the people are following bad advice. But to their credit, I'm glad they're doing something. So I like to celebrate the victories, focus on the positive. So I'm going to give them some props for doing something. But if you're going to take 4 hours a week, maximize that time and do it right. And make sure you're getting some sleep. So I'm going to preach to myself here because I am guilty of a philosophy and a mantra and kind of like that thinking that sleep is for lazy people. Or as Sam Elliott's character said in Roadhouse, in a very country voice and deeper than I can do, I'll get all the sleep I need when I'm dead. And a lot of people think that way. And what they don't realize is that if you're not getting enough sleep, aside from building muscle, you're negatively impacting the quality of your life. You're negatively impacting the quality of your work and effort in those waking hours. So the most productive people on the planet, the ones that are the game changers, the ones that are moving the needle, the ones that are doing the amazing things, are the ones that are getting sleep. So all the people like Tony Robbins and other thought leaders that were kind of championing getting up at 4 a.m. and getting your workout and get your time before everybody else, you do more than, like the Army says, we do more before 5 a.m. than most people do all day. That philosophy is changing because of the importance of sleep. So, that just hopefully changes your perspective. I have a whole training on sleep, but the takeaway is you need to have 8-hour sleep opportunity, or make that a priority to create 8 hours of opportunity. Now, this is the one thing I'm working on. I've got the quality, I won't say down, but I've worked a lot of years on improving the quality of my sleep. So in 6 hours, I can still nail an 86 sleep score on my sleep tracker. Sleep trackers, Whoop, Oura Ring, Fitbit, Apple Watch, and other new technologies that are coming out. But I use several, and I can still get a pretty high sleep score. Anything over 80 is good on 6 hours because I've hacked the crap out of the quality of my sleep. But I'm hijacking the REM sleep that usually comes in the latter part of the 8-hour window. So even though my quality's good, my deep sleep's good, I am neglecting the opportunity for more REM sleep. And REM sleep's critical for creative thinkers like myself. And so that's something I'm working on. And shout out to one of the products. I'm not doing a plug for that right now. Actually, I kind of am. That I am now an affiliate with is called Sync. And if you're interested, if you want to game changer sleep, put Sync or sleep in the comments, and my wife or I will follow up with you. But you take this one substance, tastes kind of like a honey-like texture, and it's just gonna, what I've noticed, even in my 6 hours, that my REM sleep has gone up significantly, and my dreams are way more vivid. So this supplement is working for me. So that's one way I'm still hacking my sleep, but I know I need to get on board with that 8-hour sleep opportunity. And that comes from Matthew Walker, who's a PhD, the leading sleep researcher in the world. He has the Sleep Institute at Cal Berkeley. So let's do it together. Help me, help you. Let's make the sleep opportunity. That doesn't mean you're going to be asleep for 8 hours. It just means you're creating the opportunity without noise, without distractions, cold, dark environment. Sleep is the foundation to not only building muscle, but also to our health and longevity. So that's number 3. Number 4, is anybody getting anything out of this? Put something in the comments. Let me know. So if you're watching on YouTube, watch it on Facebook, watch it on LinkedIn, you can let me know. Anyway, number 4, what is one ingredient you can add to a plant-based diet that is a game changer? And that's a play on words because there was a documentary called The Game Changer that was funded by the billionaire that owns the largest plant-based protein manufacturing facility in the world. So you got to understand the bias of this documentary. But what is the one ingredient you could add to a plant-based diet that would be a game changer for your health span? And this does go back to strength being the new currency of aging. So the limiting factor of a plant-based diet is the branched chain amino acid leucine. And leucine has been proven by millions of dollars, $30-40 million of research by a Dutch researcher. I listened to a 2.5-hour podcast a week and a half ago, and he did a deep dive, and they use isotopic tracers to really, and funded, like I said, millions of dollars of research to really figure this stuff out. But what they know now is leucine is the signaling molecule for muscle protein synthesis. What does that mean? That means when your body senses leucine, it's going to turn on the switch to build muscle. And unfortunately, in a plant-based diet, leucine is deficient. You would have to eat literally way too much volume that your digestive system could handle to get the sufficient amount of leucine that you would need. And they did studies on this, and the volume that you would have to eat is just not realistic or possible for 99.9% of the Americans out there or the people in the world. So I have plant-based diet clients, vegetarians, vegans, exclusively plant-based. And I have a pet peeve about plant-based because all processed foods, almost bar none, are plant-based. And most people would agree with me that processed foods, chips, cakes, candies, sodas, crackers, cookies, donuts, bagels, on and on and on, chips, tortilla chips, potato chips, all of those are plant-based foods. And 68% of the calories of Americans, according to the FDA, that tracks the purchasing patterns of Americans, what we actually spend our money on, they estimate 68% of our calories as Americans now are coming from packaged processed foods that are 99% plant-based. So the plant-based diet is bullshit because it means nothing. People can feel good about what they're eating because it's plant-based for whatever reason, but I'm not a fan. And if you don't eat animal-based for ethical reasons, I completely support and understand that. And if you are truly plant-based for the right reasons, vegetarian, vegan, or something on the spectrum of plant-based, what I've done with my clients in that scenario is have them add a plant-based protein powder supplement to dramatically increase the amount of protein they're getting, because that's also an anabolic agent along with sleep. But then to supplement that with some, leucine, at least 5 grams. A French study tried to quantify how much leucine is enough, or is there too much that is basically pissing away money. And what they did was they funded a study, and they had athletes or the subjects that actually did the same intelligently designed workout protocol over 6 weeks. And they gave some 5 grams of leucine per day, some 10 grams, 15, 20, 25, all the way up to 30 grams, which is a crap ton of leucine. And the thinking before this study was, 5 to 10 grams is rate limiting. More is not better. And this study proved otherwise. The 30 gram of leucine group grew the most muscle tissue, had the biggest, greatest anabolic response. So the takeaway is, if you're plant-based, you got to have some leucine, baby. Do a plant-based supplement. But for those of us that are omnivores like myself, and you eat a whole food diet that includes plenty of animal-based proteins, I'm a big fan of whey protein supplementation in addition to 2 to 3 whole food meals, depending on the schedule of your day. 4 meals for some, if that's realistic. But hydrolyzed whey protein isolate by itself has the most bioavailable, highest amount of leucine as a supplement. But if you're trying to build muscle, or you're late into the game of building muscle, or you're just getting started and you want to enhance the anabolic response, throw some extra leucine. It's a cheap substance that you can buy on Amazon, online, and just add that to your food, or you can just throw it as its own ingredient like creatine right into your protein smoothies, and you're going to change the game. So that's a massive takeaway. That's worth the price of listening. Assuming you're sleeping, assuming you're doing 3 to 4 hours of strength training a week, that's just one way to turn up and upregulate protein synthesis or muscle building. So that's massive and important. Finally, number 5. How's everybody doing out there? Hit me up. Let me know if you're getting anything out of this. We're on number 5. We're going to be wrapping this up. I'm trying to keep these under 30 minutes. We're at 24 minutes and 35 seconds. Number 5 is, and I want everybody to answer this question. Don't be afraid. There's no wrong answers. I like to tell people, because when you say something and you learn from it and you educate yourself, that serves a purpose. So 3 macronutrients most people have heard of, I think: protein, fat, and carbohydrates. And which of those 3 is the only non-essential macronutrient? What does that mean? It means you can go your entire life, live your entire life without any negative consequences, other than possibly being miserable because the food variety of your diet would be limited. But one of those 3, protein, carbs, fats, is the only non-essential. Anybody want to take a chance? Take a stab, be courageous, throw it in the comments. Even if you're watching the replay, you haven't heard the answer yet, and I didn't put it in the text. If you read ahead, do it. Last chance, type it. It's going to reinforce your learning. If you're right, you're wrong, doesn't matter. What is the only non-essential macronutrient? Bev, Wanless, thanks for playing, taking a chance. She put carbs. Holly put carbs. Some people playing along with the live. And the answer is, drum roll please, is carbohydrates. So you can live your entire life without ever eating a carbohydrate. Now, I know there's people that will jump on their soapbox and debate it to the ends of the earth. You know, vegetables, carbohydrates, fiber, plant-based nutrients. But the reality is, if you eat grass-fed protein, who eat grass and other plants, they are converting those plant-based nutrients into a bioavailable form in the meat that we can actually extract from the meat, unlike we can do with plant-based foods. So when you eat broccoli, assuming it even has that many nutrients in it, and today's broccoli has 10% of the nutrients of broccoli from the 1960s, according to one study I read. So 10% of the nutrients, so 90% less. But we can only extract about 10% of the nutrients, meaning only 10% in plant-based foods of those nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, are bioavailable to us. So when you eat it from an animal that has a ruminant stomach and extract those nutrients, put it into the meat, along with B vitamins, along with omega-3 healthy fats. Grass-fed beef has 50% omega-3 fats versus regular beef is about 20%. So 50-50 on grass-fed. So that's one reason grass-fed, grass-finished, plus the amount of plant-based nutrients. So protein as a macronutrient from whatever source is essential. Without protein, you die. You will waste away, and your brain needs protein. Your body needs, all your living tissues have to have protein. But I need carbs because I need glucose. Glucose is what fuels the body, Matt. Correct. But guess what? The body, through gluconeogenesis, can take protein and convert it into essential glucose. It's not essential to eat it from carbohydrates. Fat, your body can convert fat through glycerol into glucose. So a fat or a triglyceride, glycerol can be, those glycerol molecules can be converted to, guess what? Glucose. And that's how we store fat when we eat too much glucose, through carbohydrates. The body converts them after we store glycogen and whatever working energy we need, which most people are consuming more calories than they burn, and that's how we store calories. But carbohydrates get converted into triglycerides and stored as fat. So now you know, carbohydrates are not essential. And so for 70 to 80%, and going back to Charles Poliquin, this is just fresh off my mind because I watched him today, and he was saying 78% of Americans will thrive, will do the best, will have the least amount of body fat, will have the best cognitive function, will not suffer from carb comas on a lower carbohydrate based diet, meaning you're going to eat proteins and fats. Now, the difference is some people can eat more protein and less fat, and some people can eat as much as 70 calories of their fat and then 20 to 30% for protein and a little bit from carbs, less than 10%, and they will thrive. Now, there is 20, 30% of the population that does do better with more carbohydrates, or they have more tolerance because their gene pool they have more amylase that breaks down those carbohydrates. But for most people, 70-80%, you're going to do better. One size does not fit all, but most people, the majority, the 80-20 rule, are going to do better on a lower carbohydrate diet. And I define it this way, and he defines it this way with his athletes too. 50 grams a day of carbs is a goal, a target to shoot for. And the majority of those should come from vegetable-based carbohydrates. Starches and sugars are calorie dense, most high glycemic, going to produce the most insulin. Insulin's our fat storage hormone. So 50 grams is not a lot, but it's a lot of volume from vegetables. You could eat bags and bags of spinach, heads and heads of broccoli to hit 50 grams. So you have to eat a lot of it. So it's very satiating because of that food volume. But Holly asked, how can you tell which is which? Can you clarify the question for me if you're still paying attention? And yes, like Holly pointed out, carbs are yummy. They are the treat foods, the fun foods, as I like to call them. All the C words: cookies, crackers, cake, candy, colas, on and on and on. And then some that aren't C's, like donuts. I love a good donut. But chocolate cake, carrot cake. I teach a sequencing strategy to have your treat foods, but it's protein, vegetables first, and then that. But I personally, for the last 6-7 years, have lived in that 50 to 70 grams of carbohydrate. Not every single day. Trust me, I'm not perfect. But the majority of the time, 80% of the time, I'm between 50 and 60, maybe 70 grams of carbs, mostly from vegetables. So when in doubt, put protein vegetables on your plate, and you're going to get some healthy fats if it's a quality protein. So Holly's clarifying, saying, how can you tell if you're the one who does good with more carbs? Well, it's easier to tell when you're the one that doesn't do well with carbs. If you have carbs and you start nodding off, you get brain fog, you get hungry, you get irritable because your body's craving more carbs because you're glucose dependent. That's one rule. But you'd have to do testing, amylase testing, to look at those genetic markers. And there's certain people that can get away with eating a lot of carbs and they don't gain weight. So that's another cheat code to figure out if you're one of those people. And yeah, I'm sure everybody's like, oh, I'll take that test. But if you extract carbs, it's going to take a period of adjustment. It's like detoxing from the glucose dependency, just like it is from caffeine or nicotine or heroin or other addictive substances. Glucose is very addicting. If you're glucose dependent, your body doesn't know how to convert fat to fuel because it always has glucose because you're eating carbs, starches and sugars, not just sugars. And starches, guess what includes? Wheat. That's probably the biggest one I like to burst the bubble. Oatmeal, starchy carbohydrate. Wheat, bread, crackers, cakes, starchy carbohydrate. Rice, corn, peas, yams, potatoes, sweet potatoes. I could go on and on. So I personally get a carb coma when I have some carbohydrates, like to the point where you're like nodding off. You can't keep your eyes open. You can't think straight, and you have to hammer some more caffeine or a Red Bull or whatever people drink these days just to stay conscious. So that's one way you can figure out how your body reacts to carbs. That's negative. So just to wrap up, hopefully you got some value out of that. If you did, let me know. If you also have a topic in health, nutrition, training, exercise, sleep, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, that you're interested in me doing the 5 things you need to know, that's going to be the theme of my Magic Pill Mondays, is 5 bullet point items that you need to know, or we all need to, not you, we all need to know to champion our health, take ownership of our health, and to help others do the same. So that being said, hope you have an amazing night. If you found some value in this, let me know. If you find enough value in it, share with somebody that you care about. Let's change the world together, one healthy person at a time. And that's my mission. That's my mantra. And we're going to be doing it through lots of ways. My wife and I have teamed up, and we're going to be doing the What the Health Show. That's she and I working together, tackling topics on a deeper level, but in a short, concise, usable, extractable way. So thank you for tuning in. Love you guys. Hopefully you got some value. And we'll see you next week on Monday, Magic Pill Mondays. So tune in, and hopefully next week we'll be streaming on more platforms when we upgrade our software to the one that I can simulcast on lots of channels. So that is that. We'll see you on Wednesday. What's the Health live with my wife. Look for that. I think we're going to do 2 different air times this week just to test the waters. And that's going to be fun. She's amazing. She asks great questions. She knows social media. She knows how to create some engagement. So excited to do that with her. And for the rest of you, let's go get some sleep, because sleep is an anabolic agent and we need it. Rest hard, or work hard, rest harder. We'll see you next week, and take care. Strong as young. Cheers. God bless.